Good evening, and welcome to King Jugg Brewing Company for another edition of Fisher's Freight Coach's Corner with the head coach of the Fisher's Freight, Dixie Wooten. I am Andrew Smith, the broadcast voice of the Fisher's Freight and Indy Fuel, and we're so excited to be here with you tonight here at King Jugg to talk about the great things the Fisher's Freight are doing and get things set up for what should be an exciting last game of the season coming up next Sunday, July 26th at the Fishers Event Center, 4 o'clock. The Fishers Freight and the Orlando Pirates with a playoff spot on the line. The winner goes to the postseason Sunday the 26th at 4 o'clock. And so we hope to see everybody there later on in the show. For everybody here at King Jugg, we'll have some tickets to give away, and we're hoping to see everybody right down the street at the Fishers Event Center next Sunday for the final game of the regular season and essentially the first game of the playoffs as well, because the winner will go to the Indoor Football League postseason. That would start the following weekend. So as we take a look at how things are going, the Fishers Freight currently 8-7, but winners of 2 of their last 3 games and playing some really, really good football. Saturday night, they knocked off the Quad City Steamwheelers 49-35 in Quad City. Big, big road win. And, Coach, we'll just start with that. It's never easy to win on the road. It's never easy to beat a team twice in a year. And I know you've changed a lot since you saw them in week 1. They've changed a lot. But you're facing a team with a really good quarterback in Daquan Neal, couple of really good receivers. They were getting healthy. That was a very difficult challenge for you, and not only did you really pass that, but you took control in the second quarter and never really looked back.
Absolutely, man. Anytime you play against a Quad City team, they're going to be good. You know, they got a solid defense, you know, a great quarterback, and that's the thing that you need to be successful, man. You know, one thing about it, playing those guys last week, they had everybody healthy, so it was a tough game, man. I'm glad we can pull it off.
Yeah, anytime you're seeing a team that they were in the conference finals last year. Daquan Neal, the quarterback, was back. They've got their top receivers back, and you were able to largely hold them in check. But I think the big thing was your defense was able to get stops at critical moments. Really felt like they set the tone for the game the first couple of possessions, and then obviously they helped put it away with a couple of turnovers late.
Absolutely, man. One thing about it is our defense came to play. You know, giving up 80 points in the game before, then come back and give up, 30-something. You know, that's huge. You know, those guys, they locked in this week, and they were able to understand what Quad City was doing to us. We didn't even know that Daquan was going to play. So we was getting ready for another quarterback. So when Daquan came out, those guys understood they had to step their game up big time.
And how personally did your defensive guys take it going to Green Bay, and but bluntly they struggled and against a very, very good team, but they take that personally and use the bye week and then the week leading up to the Quad City game to not just make a few adjustments and refinements, but also play with a little bit of a chip on their shoulders.
So absolutely, like the Green Bay game was just it was bad. At the end of the day, but when we come back for practice now, we got to throw that game behind us and focus on Quad City. And those guys did a good job of, throwing that game to the side and ready for Quad City. So at the end of the day, they did exactly what they're supposed to do. Nobody cried about it. Nobody, was worried about it. They came out there and played some great football.
Well, just talk about the fact that a year and a half ago, you were just putting together your first team, getting your first roster together, building this team from scratch, and now in year 2, you've got them on the cusp of a playoff spot where you've got a chance to play your way into the postseason in an absolutely loaded Eastern Conference where you've got 6 really, really good football teams, and only 4 of them are going to be playing in August. Just describe what you've been able to do as a coach, general manager, and your staff have been able to do to build this program to the point where you're now on the cusp of having a chance to play at home for a chance to go to the postseason.
So it starts off with ownership. Ownership has a plan, and they let football, take care of business. But also it goes with our front office. Our front office I think I have the greatest support system in the league. At the end of the day, my front office always support me. Catherine support everything that I do. So, it's easy to do my job here. So, we're able to put some things together, and that's why we at as a second-year team. It's not just me putting things together on the field. It's things that happen off the field that make us successful as well.
And when you go to Quad City, first drive of the game, you get a stop. And then you come back with a score. But they come back and score, but then they get the ball back, and your defense forces a turnover. You essentially get stops on 2 of your first 3 drives, and that kind of let your offense kind of get in rhythm and eventually take the lead. How important was it for your defense to set the tone early on Saturday night?
It's always important. When your defense play great early, now your offense get enough confidence to feel like, okay, now if we score every drive, we have a chance to win. We came out playing, our defensive line played great, our secondary played great, and then we had Dilworth at linebacker, and he played great. So, those guys came out there flying around. They got a safety, they got a touchdown, they got a lot of points on defense for us, and also a lot of stops, especially the big fumble at the end that made our offense get the ball and go score for us.
You mentioned Renaria Dilworth moving to linebacker. It looks like he's a guy that can close really quickly on the blitz and, as a result, create a lot of havoc. What do you like about him and his speed in that position?
His speed is everything. One thing about him is he don't give quarterbacks time to even think. He get back there fast. Also, he's a leader. He talks. He makes sure to communicate with the defensive line and the defensive back. So adding him to the puzzle is made us big time now.
And then you got Marcus Gray back as well. He missed the last couple of games, but he seems to be kind of not just one of those guys that's a leader in terms of, I've seen him often calling the defense from the safety position, but also just kind of a heart and soul guy in that defense that he goes, he makes plays. He had an early big stop to set the tone, but how good was it to have him back in the lineup on Saturday night?
It was huge because it made us more physical.
Yeah.
Anytime you can get physical on defense, that makes you pretty good. And when Marcus come in, he reroute receivers. He help us on the run game. So, Marcus did a lot of great things for us, and I'm glad he's back in the lineup.
One thing I love is your defensive linemen. They keep people off the linebackers, but also every time I'm watching a replay, there's a number 98 downfield. And certainly you don't want anybody having to make a tackle 10 yards downfield, but your nose tackles making a stop 10 yards downfield. You got Jalen Swan flying off a block and plugging a hole and taking the alley away, and Trey Smalls fill in the middle, and all those guys up front, whether it's Darius, it's Trey, it's Jalen, everybody up front doing their jobs. But the one thing I like, they use their speed, they cover the field so well, in addition to keeping the linemen off of your linebackers and DBs.
Absolutely. The game is won in the trenches. At the end of the day, I think we have 3 of the best D linemen in the league, starting with Darius Long in the middle.
Yeah.
You got to, in this league, you don't have but 3 guys, and he's able to, play the middle and being able to, keep the quarterback from running through the middle. And then you got Swan also, last year the sack leader, but, they trying to double team him and things like that, but he's still working through the double team to get other guys open. So at the end of the day, I feel like our D-line is exactly where they're supposed to be.
It felt like Saturday's win against Quad City was a 3-phase win. Your defense gets a couple of turnovers and a safety. Your offense does what it does, but your special teams, Callum Sutherland is such a weapon. He basically got you 9 points. In a game you win by 14, those 9 extra points you basically stole, really 12, when you look at he hits 4 deuces, hits a roosh because he hits the goalpost on another deuce attempt, but then also give a lot of credit to Nicholas Lennon, Jaden Rowe for getting downfield on kick coverage and not letting them get out of the end zone. And then he nails a 54-yard field goal, which, doing that into a 10-foot wide upright is really difficult. But how much of a weapon is Callum in your kicking game? But then also special teams, you basically had 19 points on special teams in a game you won by 14 on Saturday night.
So with Sutherland, man, he's huge. You know, anytime you can get that many points from your kicker is outstanding. You know, he kicked 4 deuces. That's crazy. You know, at the end of the day, the league lead is 22. Sutherland right now has 20.
Yeah.
So he has a chance to break a record when it comes to deuces. You know, and the 50-yard field goal, that was amazing, man. You know, he kept us in the game, but also he made our league grow and grow after every touchdown. You know, when you're able to get 9 points a drive, that's huge.
And it just demoralizes the other team because there's one point, it's 21-14. Now all of a sudden it's 30-14, and that 7-point deficit becomes a 16-point deficit. That really can change the psyche of the opposing team. It kind of changed momentum in your favor.
So you chasing all night. If you're the other team, we get 9, you getting 7. Next thing you know, after 3 touchdowns, we up 6. You up 6, and then next thing you know, 2 more, we up 10. So you know it's tough for a team to see that because you again, like if we see it, if somebody kicking deuces, we feel like hey, now we chasing points, and that's what they started doing, and it got them behind the 8-ball.
Well, we've got Josiah King, Dominic Roberto here. We'll hear from them later on tonight. Your 2 outstanding running backs, best 1-2 tandem in the league. But Quad City tried to take Josiah away. You could tell they were keying on him early. We talked a lot about how football is a game of adjustments. And it looked like you leaned a little bit on the passing game, but also that created openings for Felix Harper in the running game. They need a read option game to use Josiah as a decoy to allow Felix to break a couple of big runs and move the chains and put points on the board.
So the thing about our offense, we can do everything. We can throw the ball, we can run the ball, we can do whatever we want to do. You know, we just run the ball pretty good. So we got 2 of the greatest running backs this year in this league, but also Felix, he can run the football, but also Felix can spin it with anybody. You know, he makes some great throws. He understands how to read coverages, and he's solid. So, again, we run the ball because we want to, but if somebody try to stop the run, we can definitely throw the ball down the field.
Well, and the thing I think that has been a hallmark of your team when you've been successful this year is you win the big downs. And you look back to Saturday, I thought a couple of turning points of the game. One of them was it's 21-14. You've had a couple of miscues. Bad snap puts you in the shadow of your own goalpost, 3rd and 23, you're thinking maybe, you know, this could be a turning point there. They could get the ball back down 7. Instead, Felix throws a beautiful ball to Jordan Davis. He makes a really good one-on-one catch, and you move the chains, later score on that drive. And then later on in the game, Felix had a 4th down run that, again, moved the chains. You know, football games are often won and lost on 3rd and 4th down, and you know, describe how Felix and your offensive guys are really stepping up and making plays on those critical downs to keep drives alive, to give you a chance to put points on the board.
It's everything. You know, when you got 3rd and 23, we knew that at the end of the day, all we got to do is get Davis one-on-one, and Felix going to make a great throw, and Davis going to always make a great catch. You know, also, you know, on that 4th down, Felix scored on. You know, that's another huge one. These guys know, and we practice it, that on them 3rd and 4th downs, we got to make plays. You know, if we win 3rd and 4th down, we win the ball game, and that showed you in Quad City that's true.
I'm going to give you a chance to brag on your staff a little bit because I thought there were 3 or 4 big turning points on Saturday. One of them was when you're up 12-7, offense is kind of struggling, you bobble a snap, fumble it, they recover, but your coaching staff noticed they weren't lined up right. There was an illegal defense there, and you were able to toss the challenge flag, win the challenge, and eventually scored on that drive. That's essentially a 14-point swing.
Absolutely. Like my staff, what people really got to understand is by me being on the field for offense and defense, those guys over there making the adjustments, those guys are talking to players, making sure they relax, things like that. So also, you know, they got the iPads working, and you know when we saw that challenge, those guys saw it right away, told me to throw the flag right away. I threw it down, and we ended up winning it, and we ended up going down and scoring on that drive instead of giving them a touchdown.
Yeah, now suddenly you've got a 2-score lead. Now they're chasing. And later on in the game, you know, we've talked about that throw by Felix Harper, let you go up eventually 30-14. They make a little bit of a comeback, get it to 33-27, and they've got the ball. And it just felt like from there, it was big play after big play. Jalen Swan forces a fumble. You were able to get the ball back and then turn that into points again. And again, guys making big plays on defense. And it's a second or third time here recently you've been able to strip a ball in a scramble situation and then fall on it. And, just, again, describe those guys making plays and how big of a play that was by Jalen Swan.
That was the play of the game, man. When you look at it, they was driving and had a chance to score to take the lead. Jalen, he saw them trying to run quarterback draw, and he read it, and guess what? He ran them down and knocked the ball out. That's one of them situations where, again, my staff did a great job of telling me to throw the red flag to challenge it because it was a fumble. But all that night, defense played great, and they finished the game again. That's why people say defense wins championships.
Absolutely. And then at the end of the game, you've got a 2-score lead at that point. But we talked about Marcus Gray, great job in coverage, gets a tip, and Ja'Cory Benjamin's able to finish it off. And basically, 2 of their last 3 possessions. With a game in the balance, your defense steps up and gets turnovers.
That's huge, man. And like I told those guys every day, because, again, I hold them accountable more than anybody. They made some great plays, especially in the clutch moments. Again, the interception from Marcus. He bumped it up, and then guess what? Benjamin got a pick off of it. So, as long as those guys play like that, we got a great chance.
And can't go without saying how big the touchdown by Josiah King was. It's 42-35. They've just scored. We're in the final minute or so, minute and a half of the game, and they may be thinking, are we going to stop? We've got a chance here. He takes a ball off the top of the boards and then takes it to the house for a kickoff return for a touchdown. And the importance of that touchdown, but also just how much of a weapon he is in the return game and being able to score that special teams dagger to put the game away.
Oh, another special team touchdown.
Yep.
Coach Stout do a great job with those guys with special teams. We go over special teams every day. So that's how important it is. We know for a fact that if we win the special teams, we win the ball game, and we take it more – we take it like it's super important. Coach Stout go over the game plan every day, and when they kick the ball off to, King – he did a great job of reading his blocks and taking it to the house, man. Again, one of those situations that we was in, to make sure we come back, and he ran a touchdown basically to seal the game.
Special teams is part of football that is often overlooked, but every time a ball is kicked, you're either scoring or you're going to see a big change of field position or both. And so you have that chance to flip the game, flip the field, put points on the board. That's often the hidden part of the game, but it ends up being one of the most important parts because it can win you a football game, and it certainly felt like your special teams won you a football game on Saturday night.
Absolutely, man, and that's what it's about. Think about it, 4 deuces, a 54-yard field goal, great coverage on the kickoff, a great kickoff return. We was challenging, almost blocking extra points all night. So, we don't take plays off in special teams, and that shows how important our guys are to us and how much they pay attention in the meetings and things like that.
Well, we'll talk a little bit more next week about the matchup with Orlando coming up next Sunday, the 26th, to wrap up the regular season. But just, again, describe how good it is to have yourself with an opportunity to play for a playoff spot at home.
It's huge because at the end of the day, the second-year organizations usually don't be in this situation, but we are, and we get to do it at home. So, basically, Orlando is a playoff game.
Yes.
Whoever win, get in, and we get to do it in front of our fans in Fishers. We get to come out in Fishers and get the energy from our fans. Be motivated because if we get a packed house, that it's gonna be hard for us to lose that game.
Well, you've got a bye week coming up, essentially your second bye week in 3 weeks. How good is it to be able to have this week where you've got some guys with bumps and bruises at the end of the season, they get a chance to rest up a little bit, but also you've got a couple extra days of practice to work on some things and make some adjustments, and essentially you've got 2 weeks to prepare for what is the biggest game in franchise history.
Absolutely, man. We it's a bye week, but we practicing a couple of days this week. We want to make sure we come in the next week, we ready to go. We in shape. We understand what we're doing. We watching film on Orlando to make sure that we got everything, all our T's crossed and all our I's dotted. Because they're going to come in here with the mindset they want to win too. But, at the end of the day, I think my guys are focused. We're playing at home in front of our great crowd, and I'm excited to play that game.
Well, we're excited for that game coming up next Sunday, 4 o'clock against the Orlando Pirates. And so, Coach Dixie Wooten, thanks for joining us tonight on Coach's Corner live here at King Jugg. We'll bring in Josiah King and Dominic Roberto here momentarily as well. And stick around. We'll have some tickets to give away for that season finale game next Sunday here in just a few moments. But, Coach, as always, thank you so much, and we'll see you next week.
Appreciate it, Andrew. Thank you.
Thank you. It's Fishers Freight head coach Dixie Wooten, and we'll bring over Josiah King and Dominic Roberto, the best running back tandem in the Indoor Football League. The Fishers Freight's running back tandem of Dominic Roberto, who is all the way to my left, and Josiah King here in the middle. And we're excited to have these guys with us. I often find myself saying touchdown at the end of calling your names a lot this year because of the fact that between you guys, 37 touchdowns on the season, and it's got to be fun to be a part of a team that emphasizes running the football the way that this team does, and be a part of it, be a part of this offense, and essentially be the guys that are carrying the mail a lot and having the success that you're having. So Josiah, we'll kind of start with you. Just how much fun has it been to be a part of this team the way you've been able to run the football as well as you have this year?
It's been a lot of fun, especially being next to my brother, Dom. We definitely compete a lot. I remember, I want to say last year, he had 2 touchdowns, and he came over to the sideline and he was like, "Hey, bro, you got to go get yours." And so we just always competed like that, and we've just been stuck together since.
Yeah, I'll ask Dominic the same thing. Just with the offensive line that you guys have and the way that you feature the running game, how enjoyable has that been for you since coming over here to the Fishers Freight last season?
Man, it's been amazing. Like we got a great offensive line. Probably we do have the best offensive line in the league, and they make our jobs easy. Mm-hmm. We're not getting touched until the secondary. They make our reads easy, and we're just able to go out there and really just do our thing.
Well, and I'll ask you, how much do you guys push each other in practice, in games, and have kind of that friendly competition among the two of you sharing that running back position?
Moment of honesty right here, some transparency. I would get mad at him if he's in for an extra play. I'm like, nah, bro, you already had your 3 plays. It's my turn to get in. So it's that type of relationship that we have, and it keeps it fun, it keeps it competitive. I wouldn't have anybody else in that backfield with me.
Yeah. So, we talk a lot about the line and bringing in Devon Donaldson to play that left guard position. And Cordell Brewster's been really good since coming over at center. And then you've got LaQuinston on the right side, who has kind of been a rock for a couple of years since this franchise began. And, we talk about how that running game really starts with the guys up front. But how much do those guys make your jobs easy?
They make a world of difference. Like I said, we're not getting touched until the second level. Mm-hmm. Rarely do we ever get touched by a D lineman. Rarely do they ever come through scot-free. So, like I said, we're able to do our thing, hit the hole fast, get vertical, make a move on the next man. We're averaging 5 yards a carry easy.
Yeah.
Easy.
We'll ask Josiah. This is the relationship with Felix and his ability to kind of run the offense, but also the communication you guys have in the read option game, the option game, to be able to make the right reads and the right calls to get yourselves free. And how much does he complement what you guys are able to do?
He really complements our running game really well. In the speed option game, it's kind of a 1-2 punch. You're either gonna get a shifty quarterback that's coming your way, or you're gonna get a powerhouse between me and Dom. And so it balances everything out for us.
And the one thing about both of you guys, you don't go down on first contact. I've said several times this year as we've been, we've been watching and calling games, that was a weight room touchdown, because you're plowing through a guy, you're driving a tackler into the end zone, and those yards after contact, those yards after the first hit, how important are those to keep the chains moving, put points on the board, and continue to not just that, but grind down defenses as well?
It's very important. Our running back coach actually really harps on that, to protect the ball and just know when we can go down or when we can fight for that extra yardage. And it to me, it does break down the defenses a lot. Just them knowing that we don't just go down on the first contact.
Well, and also third, fourth quarter, the fact that both of you are able to basically be battering rams and stay fresh when you're both able to get a lot of carries. How much does that wear a defense down, where you guys are able to stay fresh and you've got the same guys hitting you several times a game, and you're able to basically keep putting a fresh running back out there?
It's actually really good. We make sure that the next guy knows that when it's his turn, that we're fresh and we're ready. I think defenses actually are scared of the 1-2 punch. They know that you got to deal with both of us at the same time. So it just helps in the third and fourth quarter for sure.
Yeah, and as Dominic, you're facing Orlando. This is a team you had a 100-yard game against last time you played them back in May. Weren't able to come away with a win, but what kind of confidence that give you that you've been able to have a lot of success against this team? And obviously they're going to try to make some adjustments, but knowing that you've played really well already against this defense.
I kind of went into that game with a chip on my shoulder already. Last year, that was the team I was originally on. They cut me 10 weeks in. And, going to that game, I was like, man, I was angry. I just wanted to impose my will on their defense. First play, run over the first man I see. I just had that mentality the entire game. And like you said, just wearing down the defense, man, it's a mentality. And nobody wants to hit a 230-plus pound back every single play. So every chance I get, I just wanted to score every play, honestly, if I really could. So yeah, but it's been a big confidence booster. They have some dudes on that defense, so just knowing that I can go out there and compete with them and do what I did was huge.
And you mentioned that sometimes it just takes getting into the right situation, and you left the Pirates last year. And then Dixie picks you up and adds you to the roster here as he's continuing to build an expansion team and just continue to add pieces. But how good of a fit has it been for you here, where you went from kind of the extra guy to 1A and 1B and one of the top, in really the top running back tandem in the league?
I actually remember my first conversation with Coach Wooten. Over the phone when he was talking about coming over to Fishers, and he was like, we run the ball. We use 2 running backs. As soon as you said we use 2 running backs, I was like, oh, yeah, this is my place. I'm going there right now. Get my plane ticket ready, and just the mentality that he has as a coach with the culture and stuff. I really bought into it, and I could really resonate with it. So it made it easy. It made this decision easy for me.
You came here and came to the IFL after a stint with the New Orleans Saints and their mini camp. What did you learn from that NFL experience that has carried over into your pro career?
It takes a different breed,
Yeah.
for sure, But at the same time, it made me hungry again. I think after college, I got a little complacent because I was a guy. I was doing this. I was doing that. I had all these accolades. And I got into that position where this is the best of the best. And it really opened my eyes about how much more I needed to do as a player. And I'm actually happy that I didn't, stay with the team because, it made me grind even harder and wanted more. So, the goal is always to get back up there.
4 years at Furman, got to the NCAA FCS playoffs the last 2 years, and actually got to the second round both times. And I know you had a 1,000-yard season your junior year, and had a really, really good career at Furman. And just how did that prepare you for your professional career?
It really just made me a well-rounded player, I feel like, because at the beginning, I don't know if anybody knows, but I didn't play any running back in high school. I was a linebacker. I only had 300 career yards rushing in high school, and then making that switch to college, they started me off as a fullback in a triple option, and then we made a switch halfway through my career, and I was like, all right, I got to lose weight. I was like 245, and I wanted to be that guy, so I cut down to 230, and the trainers there, the strength staff, they really got me prepared, got my body prepared, and I had a great bunch of coaches that really molded me into the player that I am today.
What's been your favorite thing about being here in Fishers with the Freight?
The food. There's a lot of great places to eat around here. The people are great. Shout out my guy Rick. You got some great fans out here. We've got great staff with the Freight and all of them. So it's been a really welcoming community, and it's definitely a place I can see myself coming back to for sure.
Yeah, we'll hand the mic to Josiah here, and I'll start with that question. What's been your favorite thing about being here with the Fishers Freight the year plus you've been here?
The major thing that kept me here is, number one, the fans. Coach Dixie giving me the blessing of coming out here and signing me for last year and this year. Also meeting my future wife. So it's like everything just kind of all happened at once, and it was just a big blessing all at once.
Well, nothing better than coming to a new community and ending up meeting the person you're going to spend the rest of your life with. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
But you came here midway through the year. Just kind of describe what brought you here to Fishers and how that opportunity came about.
So last year I was playing with the Corpus Christi Tritons in the AF1. So I was playing fullback there, and taking maybe, I'll probably say 95% blocking, taking a lot of hits down there, and making subtle plays here and there. But those subtle plays is what got me here. And I mean, I forgot the question. I lost it. Oh yeah. So yeah, Corpus did prepare me a lot. It helped me learn about myself and the things that I needed to work on as not only a man but as a player as well. Just growing into the running back that I wanted to be to get to the next level. And like I said, Coach Dixie giving me the opportunity to come out here to showcase that I've been working on my skill level. And yeah.
You're a native of Corpus Christi, if I remember correctly. What was it
Yes.
like getting to play a little bit of pro football in your hometown before coming here?
It was amazing, but at the same time, it's like you feel kind of like in a hamster ball. You know what I mean? Everybody kind of still knowing you from high school to when you left for college and then coming back, and just everybody kind of like being there saying, what's the word? Like, I want to be that guy. You know what I mean? It was always a blessing to have somebody in my ear, from coaches to parents, to family members, and like the fans that were there.
Yeah. Well, growing up in Texas, we've heard stories. I've seen, and I keep pretty big tabs on the high school football season, the high school football culture and scene here in Indiana. But what is it like to play high school football in Texas? As big of a deal as it is, it just seems like in every community, and also just the really high level that you're playing with and against every Friday night.
We always had this conversation as players. We think our cities are better, or our states are better than each other's states. But Texas is definitely a powerhouse when it comes to football. I know Texas has like some of the top schools. I know in my area we have Miller High School and Veterans Memorial High School. Both of those teams have went to state championships back-to-back years. So just having those schools around and having those guys around me really helped me as well.
Well, and then you went to East Central University in Oklahoma. Just how did that experience prepare you for your professional career?
That experience was a lot. I ended up leaving my second year due to some like grade trouble and stuff. But leaving there is what sculpted me into knowing like that I can still make it. Having coaches reaching out to me even after everything happened, it just showed me that, like I said, I could still make it out, and that there was different avenues than going to college and finishing there. And yeah.
Well, one game left. Just describe what this week of practice is, a week and a half of practice is going to be like, and the opportunity to have a chance to put yourself in the postseason with a win at home next Sunday afternoon.
It's very big. Our practices are hard. I don't know if you've ever heard about it. We practice with a high intensity. We really make sure that we focus on all details. And I keep losing myself.
Yeah. Well, I'll ask Dominic the same question. Just describe, how exciting it is for you to have an opportunity to play for a playoff spot. I know it's probably a little personal against your old team as well, but to be at home with your season on the line next Sunday.
Man, it means the world, This is a home playoff game, like Coach said. Hopefully we've got a lot of fans coming there, bring the energy. And, this is the type of moments you want to be in as a football player. You want the pressure on your shoulders. You want to be in the moment where you can end somebody else's season. I don't care. I want to end your season, So that's just the type of mentality I think the whole team has, We're ready for the moment. We've had the ups and the downs. We've been through it all this season. We've been in the close games, and we know how to finish now. So I think we're pretty prepared, and we're going to continue to prepare this week.
Dominic, Roberto, Josiah King, thank you for joining us tonight here on Coach's Corner with the Fisher's Freight here at King Jugg. And thank you. We'll be back here again same time next Tuesday on July 21st as we'll get you ready for the season finale that's coming up 1 week from Sunday, 4 o'clock at the Fishers Event Center, as the Fishers Freight take on the Orlando Pirates. So I want to thank Coach Dixie Wooten and also Josiah King and Dominic Roberto for joining us. And we also, here at King Jugg, stay close. We have some tickets to give away.